All right, so it's a pleasant afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the masterclass again today. Today we have it's not just a big fish, we have a big whale in the house. Somebody had worked with very closely, and I think is one of the amazing talents and leaders we have in Nigeria. You know, uh, my work with him has brought up the idea that we still have really very passionate leader in Nigeria that has the capacity to transform whatever industry they've been placed to head. Barrister Oloruntoba Kehide is a banker. He was a banker, and then of course the commissioner. He was the commissioner of agriculture in Kogi State. Barrister, sir, Honorable Oloruntoba Kehide. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's good to have you around, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Maybe a quick question before we move into what we have for today. Which do you prefer, to be a banker or to be a politician?
I'm not a politician to start with.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, sir.
I've never been one.
Mm.
I was
So,
just an appointee of government. I've never been a politician.
but you worked as a commissioner of Agric, sir.
Yes,
Uh,
there are technocrats in government.
okay, okay.
Not all appointees are
A
politicians.
politician.
Yes. There are
So,
some people they bring from private sector or from corporate world to also come and contribute their quota.
mm,
So I'm not a politician. That was a government appointee.
mm, mm. Again, well, maybe that's one of the reasons why you did what you did, and you're able to work effectively with the grassroots to achieve the results you achieved. Share with us your experience, how difficult it is. Is it to work in a government setting with a private sector mindset,
It's very difficult.
or
Uh,
impossible?
it's not impossible. It's possible, but it's very difficult.
Mm,
I was coming from the private sector,
mm,
and when I got to public sector, the way and manner they do things are radically different.
mm,
The way things are done in the private sector. For instance, when I was made the commissioner for budget and planning in Kogi State, and I resumed and I insisted that people must come to office by 8 o'clock
I noticed that.
and close by 4 p.m. because they, they reported me to my wife, reported me to everybody that I was doing government work as if it was my father's work and all of that, all of that. But I stood my ground. And by the special grace of God, people were resuming 8 o'clock, closing 4 o'clock. People were no longer sitting in clusters and gossiping in the office. They were adding real value. And that was the reason why we were able to achieve the little we achieved. Yeah. But it's difficult, very difficult.
Do,
But
do,
it's not
do,
important.
do you think we will move forward as a nation if we engage more technocrats in politics?
Yes, I think it's better. Because, yes, you may say the chief executive of ministries and parastatals are just the political head. They work with professionals like PAMSEX, like directors, like all of those. But again, the attitude of the head will percolate down. So how you do the job is the way they will help you do it. Because they are seeing you as the role model in the office. If you are the late coming type, you can be rest assured that everybody will be late, will be coming late. If you are the nonchalant type, you can be rest assured that that's how they will help you do the job. But once they know that yes, you don't take some of these things for granted, that you are passionate about your job, you want results, you don't tolerate indiscipline in office, and you see everybody sitting up. Everybody actually sat up in the two ministries that I managed. Even when I was a special advisor to governor of Nigeria military, all the offices that I worked, thank God we were part of Agric when I was in Ministry
Yes,
of Agric.
yes, yes, yes,
We saw that things were different
yes, yes.
because you cannot work with me and be idling away. And you expect that in 30 days' time, government will pay your salary. No, 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 no. I threatened to take people to head of service, to take people to governors. You cannot do your work. We rather sack you and bring people. There are a lot of people outside there who want to work, and they don't even have this privilege. So if you are not prepared to work, then we can bring other people who are prepared. And well, immediately they knew that I meant business. Everybody settled.
All right, so we live in a society where we think, well, I could be wrong, that we can make progress when you tie government policies with to match the reality on ground. So policy has to tie with plans. Having been in the government, although you said as a technocrat,
Not as a, not as a
not as a politician, as a technocrat, having been in government as a technocrat, where do you think we are missing it? Why? Because Agric, we're going to talk a little bit, maybe a little later around Agric, what we need to do to move the Agric sector forward. But where do you think we're missing it? Time policies of government and then the actual practicability of some of these policies to match the plans we have on ground.
Thank you, Femi. Honestly, what we lack in Nigeria is not the death of good policies. We have one of the best policies in the world. Our policies rank at par with policies in developed countries. For instance, from 1960 to 1969 is a phase in agriculture in Nigeria where there were policies ruled out because then agriculture was contributing about 60% to our GDP, employing about 90% of our population. There was food security, all of that, all of that. The reason being that they were privately led. Government did not really have much input between 1960 and 1969 in agri sector in Nigeria, for instance. The peasant farmers, the small scale farmers were the one running Agric. There were little interventions in Agric. And then we saw good results, maybe because our population was smaller, we were able to feed ourselves. Price of commodities were not as high as they are today. Then between 1970 and 1985, we call that the SAP, structural adjustment program, started in 1986. So we call that 1970 to 85 as pre-SAP period. And that was when government actually came out to roll out very wonderful policies. Like we have commodity boards, we are taking agri-produce and ensuring that we have good price for our produce. They were eliminating waste. There was no room for glut in the market. Government will buy from you and at the right time release it into the market. So they were able to regulate price. There were not this fluctuating that something will be 1 naira today, and when you get to market tomorrow, it is 3 naira. There was good policies like input supply and distribution policy. Government was involved in all of those input subsidy. These were government policies aimed at boosting agriculture. But what did we find out? As good as those policies were, GDP dropped from 60% to 20%. That's agri contribution to GDP dropped from 60 to 20. Even as beautiful as those policies were, they were meant to strengthen agriculture. They were meant to take it to the next level. But what did we have? The productivity was dropping. Food security was being threatened. A lot of insecurities around there. So, and the question is, now that agriculture was being regulated, why we have been a decline in all these indices? But the issue then, it came to not matching policies with realities, just like you said. They are very beautiful on paper, but translating it to reality becomes an issue because the people who are meant to implement government policies are the civil servants. And because of this lackadaisical attitude, like I don't care, it's government work, it's not my father's business, all of this, all of that. The attitude, once you miss it, they say attitude is 100%. Once you miss that, you have lost everything. So the attitude of civil servants towards government policies and programs is not the best. And that is the reason why, yes, we have best policies on paper, but implementing it becomes a challenge. Then when structural adjustment program came, that's Babangida's era, where we have DFRI, we have NALDA, we have okay, before the structural adjustment program, we have Land Use Decree Act, which was meant to vest the ownership of land in the state government so that people can have access to land for agriculture. But even as of today, land is still a major problem in agriculture. Acquiring land for commercial purposes is still not as seamless as it should be. Then the structural adjustment program came, a lot of programs were rolled out, DFRI, NALDA, NAIC. These were meant to strengthen agriculture. But during that period again, Agric contribution to GDP rose from 20 to 40. At least it was better than when it was 20. So that means during that structural adjustment program, things really worked a little. People, maybe because of those incentives, because of those so many, and besides the land, the arable land we have in Nigeria, we put more into use. So that also increased food production, but productivity did not really increase. We only had more people in Agric who were cultivating more portions of land. Not that when we want to define agriculture, we want to look at what is the production per hectare. You want to start saying how much of this can you get from this hectare. That is, if you are able to raise that bar, that is when you said you have brought in technology, sciences, and all of that. But what we had during the SAP period was we had more people in agriculture. We cultivated more land, but the productivity did not really increase. Then after SAP, we have post-SAP policy. We have so brilliant policies in Nigeria that you can start ADP. We have so many of them like that. These were meant, the agri mechanization, these were policies meant to enhance agriculture. But the missing link, the question you asked, is applying those policies has been a challenge in Nigeria. And the reason is not far-fetched. We have talked about the attitude, the
All right, so it looks like something is wrong with his network. That's Barrister Oloruntoba Kehide. He was a banker, and then the commissioner of budget in Kogi, and was being transferred to head the Ministry of Agric as the commissioner of Agric in the same state, Kogi State, where I served a little while before moving out. Barrister Oloruntoba Kehide has been one of the most phenomenal people I've ever worked with. Result-oriented, articulate, brilliant, and I think most of all talented. The quality of change he brought into the sector when he was there was outstanding. And then, of course, it's a good thing that we're having him in one of our master class to talk about where exactly we're missing it. Are we missing it in terms of policy? Well, you will recall that he just mentioned that we are not failing at the point of policy, we are failing at the point of implementation. That at par, Nigeria has one of the most incredible policies that you will find in most of the developing or even developed countries. But have we been able to implement the policies that we are creating? And that has been the issue. And one of the things we hope to get at from his masterclass is to see how from this masterclass we can begin to think twice around what we have in the agri sector and how we could move the sector forward. I guess something went wrong a little with his network. I'm hoping he'll be back shortly. But I won't say that if you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, it's a brilliant time to do that. We bring in quality minds into most of our conversation to contribute to the to the world of knowledge that we have in the animal health space. More importantly, to bring up ideas that are really not commonly found out there to the open in a structured manner where we can debate and figure out exactly what to do around it. We're still waiting for Barrister Kehide Oloruntoba to come in. The said guest has muted himself. Uh, all right, we lost you, sir. Good to have you back.
Yes, network.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. So, like I said, sir, the problem is not that of non-availability of good policies. The problem has been the implementation, then inconsistencies in government policies. Government after government, every new government wants to initiate new policies. They discontinue the previous administration policies, and these have taken serious toll on on agriculture.
All right, looks like we're having another challenge with this net.
Productivity. So, are you with me?
Okay, you went off a little bit, but you're back now, sir.
Yes, yes. I said inconsistencies in policy implementation, our attitude towards it, corruption, and these are some of the bane of policy implementation in Nigeria. If not, we have very wonderful policies that if we follow them through, it should agriculture should. Then when the oil boom came, we all left agriculture. Even government left agriculture because we saw black gold that you needed to just add little effort and you start making money. But the challenge, the problem they didn't or they failed to realize is the oil sector can only employ a very minute fragment of our population. You see agriculture that can provide job for our teeming youths. It's still agriculture because we are blessed with vast agricultural potentials. We are blessed with very wonderful workforce. We are blessed with everything that we need to make agriculture thrive. But because of governments, since Obasanjo in 1999 to 2007 did their lot to revive agriculture, and the present government of Muhammadu Buhari has also been doing a lot to also. I know I have problem with some of the modes of implementing some of these policies. CBN has finally become a commercial bank, doing everything commercial bank does, and that is the reason why some of these programs are not really working. There's something they call RAC in credit disbursement, risk acceptance criteria. Commercial banks have better expertise in this. They know the right question to ask. They know how to identify the real farmers before they disburse money. They know all the mitigants that should be put in place to ensure that the money gets to the right farmers. But because CBN is the one disbursing everything, now somebody sits in Abuja and they just populate some lists and say they are farmers. And you hear that they have disbursed 70 billion naira, 150 billion naira, and there's nothing to show for it. These are some of the challenges.
So again, I'm a farmer, although I'm a vet also. So I play both as a farmer and then as somebody in the animal health space, and I've been there for 14 years. So I just even recently finished a meeting before coming to this master class where we're trying to talk to farmers around the difficulties because it's tough for farmers now. The cost of poultry feed, let me give an example, poultry feed is almost like times two. The cost of drugs now because of the dollar price. It's the drug we buy 1,000 plus is now 4,000. The cost of vaccines. So to now couple this difficulty with the idea that some of these good initiatives or good policies by government is not trickling down to the average farmer is difficult to bear. As a technocrat, and then of course as somebody who had been in the private sector that can feel the pains of these private farmers, if you allow me put it that way, what do you think the farmers should do? Knowing all you know, how do you think we need to approach this?
Honestly speaking, like I said, sir, we model up things in this country. And that's the reason why we don't get results most times. CBN is supposed to be a regulatory authority for the banking sector in Nigeria. But they now do most of the jobs money deposit money banks do. And if you look at it critically, sir, the reasons is not far-fetched. It's corruption. Everybody wants to be in charge. Everybody wants to be in control. Everybody wants to be the disbursing authority so that you can put your cronies or your and at the end of the day, sir, for instance, Anchor Borrowers Program, let me use that as an example. A very wonderful initiative meant to provide job for our teeming youths. And the modus, very simple. Once you certify that you're a farmer, we give you all the inputs you need to cultivate maybe 1 hectare or 2 hectares of land. And the government also take the produce from you. Because one of the challenges of farming also in Nigeria is after cultivating your crops, you'll be looking for buyers. So it was embedded in Agric Borrowers Program that the government, who is the financier of the program, should also be the off-taker, so that the challenge of where to sell will not be there, so that we can control glut in the market. So government disburses money to a young man who cultivates a safe maize, and then they send the maize back to government. Government buys at prevailing market price. They net it off the loan they have given to him to cultivate, and the profit goes to him, and the cycle continues. Very wonderful initiative. But what do we have? We have monies now disbursed to all manner of people, civil servants, artisans, everybody just, I'm a farmer. And if I'm the project coordinator from my local government, for instance, as a politician, I also see that as a way of enticing my voters. And the next thing I say, okay, bring 5,000 people from my community, whether they are farmers or they are not farmers. In fact, you see a situation where your name is Femi, Dr. Femi, what's his name?
Kayode.
Kayode. My own is Kehide Oloruntoba. You will see Kehide Oloruntoba. You see Femi Kayode. You see Kehide Femi. You see Kehide. You see Femi Oloruntoba. You just start. And at the end of the day, you disburse money to the wrong people. And right at the gate, I remember we were doing our Anchor Borrowers Program. We had problem chasing away malams who were coming to buy the inputs that were given to farmers. They will be at the gates. And the farmers, the so-called farmers, are only interested in what they can get now. So a bag of fertilizer, for instance, that goes for 6,500, 7,500, they are ready to sell it 2,000 naira at the gates. You see that, yes, government has pumped so much money into that sector, but need very minimal effects. Then most of these policies are not domesticated. For instance, you say Anchor Borrowers Program. Somebody in Ondo State, very forest climatic zone. Somebody in Yobe State, who is in Savannah zone. You know that in the forest region, you have a lot of land clearing to do. In the Savannah region, you have little or no land clearing to do. And you want to give 250,000 naira to a farmer in Kebbi, and give the same 250,000 naira to the same farmer in Ondo, and say they should go and cultivate 1 hectare of land. It's unrealistic. And we have heard when I was commissioner for Agric, we had several meetings with CBN government and made him understand that the regions, they have different climatic conditions. So you cannot use one medicine cure all. It cannot work. So if you give the 250,000 to a farmer in Ondo State, once he knows that 250,000 naira cannot cultivate the said land, he will spend the money. He will sell the inputs and he will go and rest. And at the end of the day, you will say you have disbursed the 150 billion naira on Anchor Borrowers Program. You have empowered over 50,000 farmers. Meanwhile, you have empowered 1,000 farmers. You have only given stipends to people to spend, to buy food, to buy whatever they want to buy, and they go and sleep. So, sir, in implementing policies, we must ensure that one, the correct government agencies are in charge. One, number two, there must be monitoring and evaluation. You cannot be pumping money into somewhere and you are not evaluating the results, the impact, there should be impact measurement. If this community was producing 50 hectares before and we have pumped 500 million naira, so we expect that 50 tons should have at least jumped to like say 100 tons or 150 tons. So if after pumping that money and you still see that the same community is doing 50 tons, then you know that there's a problem somewhere. Or they are doing 60 or they are doing 70. You know there's a problem somewhere. That means that money is not going to the right. So impact measurement is very important. But in Nigeria, once they pump money out, nobody cares what happens to the money. Once you can also pack your brothers and sisters, your colleagues, your likes, and everyone of them can benefit. Then you can use that as empowerment in your community, and they say they will give you chieftaincy title. You have empowered 1,000 people. The next election, go and vote for this person. When it was this person, this was. So until we start doing the right things, and we start punishing people for doing the wrong thing, very important. Because if you make me the chief executive of an organization, and you put money in my care, and as the president of a nation or as a governor of the state, and you cannot see results, you should ask me questions. And if I cannot answer those questions correctly, I should be punished. Once we know that there are reward and punishment system in place, anybody that is doing well, please praise him. Let people know that this one is doing well. The one that is not doing well, let him go and serve the punishment. You will see that people will sit up, and we should stop putting square pegs in round holes. People who have no business being in Agric, people who have no business in being in aviation, just because they are from your community, they are from your, you just pack all of them and say they should be the. At the end of the day, we cannot get results. These are some of the challenges of policy implementations in India, and that is the reason why government's efforts is not yielding or are not yielding the desired results. And because government's efforts are not yielding the desired results, the population is growing every day. At independence, Nigeria was 45 million. Today, we are talking about 240 million. And we have not really grown agriculture substantially since 1960 till now. What do you expect? The natural law of demand and supply says the more the demand, the higher the price. More people are chasing the few goods that are available. So what do you expect? The price will go up. Dollar is for so many reasons that you and I also know. Dollar is on the today. Dollar is about 575 naira to $1, 575 naira. So cost of gas, cooking gas. I was watching a program on Arise television this morning. They brought the chairman of I think the market gas cooking marketing association or something, and he said to them that as of today, 12.5 kg is 10,000, and that before December, he's not sure it will not hit 15,000-20,000. The reason is very simple. That yes, we are blessed. We say we are the 9th largest gas producer in the world, but that we only have the resources underneath the ground. We have not done much to exploit, to do the exploitation and exploration and make it available to the users. They are importing gas from Algeria, from China, from other countries to Nigeria to augment our local production. And because of the exchange rates, the price is no longer. The Nigeria now is waiting for the 7th stream of Nigerian gas and stuff for prices to come down. They said that will not be available in the next 5 years. So only God knows what we are going to be facing between now and 5 years. So there's a lot of policy wahala in this country, and it's about, and all this is corruption, no, because we are not punishing people. We are not putting the right people in. If you are doing well, they will remove you. Once you are doing well, because you are stopping people from eating. Once you say the money must be applied for the purpose for which it is meant for, you become the enemy of everybody there. They report you to all their godfathers, and the next thing they say you are removed. They bring somebody they can manipulate, that they can, and for how long are we continuing to? Nigeria, 61 years after independence, we still cannot feed ourselves, despite the vast Agric potential God has given us. The farmers, you ask me what can the farmers do? They have little options here. They have little options because one, they are poor. They depend on government for survival. And the government that is supposed to be protecting them is not doing the right thing. What options do they have? That is it.
Barrister Oloruntoba Kehide, You've opened our eyes to quite a handful of things that you know. It's a mixed feeling for us. It's our country, but we know that things are happening in a way that will not ensure we progress. And then at the receiving end too, we're also feeling as farmers or as animal health professionals, we're doing our bit to move a lot of things forward. Just with a little help, we could maybe go further. And that's why some of us run to international communities to get help. One of my business has done really well because of the jump that we had by an international organization who saw what we were doing and then invested hard currency into what we were doing, and then we're able to scale. So, what do you think is going to be the way forward for us? There's promises, there's policies. We already know that some of those promises are not being actualized because we keep keeping, as you have said in your words, round peg in square holes. But we have to just forge forward. And then you've also given us advice as farmers and what we could do. Oh, I didn't know he was up.
In Abuja, it's not my photo.
All right, sir. Okay, you went off, but you're back
I
now.
said network in Abuja. It's not my fault.
Come to Lagos, sir.
Okay.
It's much more stable in Lagos.
Welcome to Abuja.
But we are happy to have you. All right, so Abuja, that's where the seat of power is.
Yes, and you can see what we are going through.
And then the seat of power has a fluctuating network.
Just,
Sir, let's move to the promises and policies and then tie it up to part of the things you've said around farmers too. Uh, so the issue that farmers need to go through on their own, some farmers have done brilliantly well. Some farmers have really excelled. But most of the skills they use to excel, they use this based on things they learn from probably some of this private sector driven economy. But we have the issue of also importation, smuggling, that's also destroying the market. What do you have to say about that?
Femi, doctor,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
there will always be sharp practices when we don't have enough supply. At times, we blame middlemen for hoarding some products and therefore creating artificial scarcity, right? Increasing the price of commodities. Let me advert your mind to, or advert your mind to, during Abacha's regime, when there was acute fuel scarcity, and everybody became fuel dealer. Every road you apply, you see everybody with jerrycan, and when Obasanjo came and was able to deal with the issue of fuel scarcity, we did not need policemen to chase those people away because there was adequate supply. There was no need for hoarding. Those jerrycans disappeared on their own without using police or soldiers to chase anybody. Because you could drive into any filling station and buy your fuel. And since you could do that, why would you want to patronize one adulterated Stella that's on the roadside? The bottom line, sir, is that we need adequate supply of this produce so that we can take care of all these sharp practices around it. For as long as goods are in short supply, human beings, we have this natural tendency to be greedy. We tend to think about ourselves almost all the time. We want to maximize our profit. We say we are businessmen. We want to buy an article for 1 naira and sell it for 10 naira. because we want to be billionaires. What is raining in town is you to be a billionaire. So don't give an enabling environment for others. Don't give an enabling environment for these sharp practices. For as long as we don't have adequate supply of those items, and with our porous border, the customs will sit at the borders. They will move those cars in illegally. They will collect money, and they will come back again and sit on highways and be arresting the same cars that they allowed in as a result of corruption. The country is sick. And I said that if I was the president of this country, once any items gets in illegally, you can no longer arrest the person. Because we are paying them to man the borders. That is what we are paying them for. They don't have any other assignment they are doing for us. We are paying them to man those borders. And if you go to Ediroko, go to Seme, go to all these borders, if you see the way Tokumbo cars are driven in on daily basis, you think there are no customs, and they are there, but they have collected their money, they have collected their settlement. Now they will now come back and sit on Abuja Lokoja route, Lagos Ibadan route, and be disturbing motorists. They want to see your custom duty, whether you are paid as if they were dead when they were bringing those cars in. The point I'm making, sir, is simple. Government should ensure that we don't create room for all these sharp practices. If you hold people accountable, if I was the president and I make you this controller general of custom, and I'll tell you, if you don't reduce car smuggling in 6 months, I will not only fire you, I will prosecute you. That's the truth. Then, once you know that you have such responsibility on your head, then you also tell those commands, Lagos command, if we see any, before the government president descends on me, I'll first descend on you. And what do you see? You say that everybody will be up and down. Everybody will take his job very seriously. The way I worked in Kogi State Ministry of Agric was different from other people's because it's a very simple. They've given me this task, and I told them I've only come here to succeed. I don't want to come and marry bank register and say Toba Kehide was a commissioner. Nothing to show for. No, I don't. So I held everybody accountable. If you cannot do it, I will redeploy you. Thank God commissioners have power to redeploy people within their ministry. So if I know that you are the weak link, the next thing is I remove you. So to start holding people accountable, sir. The problem to fix Nigeria is not difficult. It's that we have not gotten the people with the right intentions. To fix Nigeria, sir, is very simple. If I make you the Inspector General of Police, for instance, and I tell you, for every stray bullet that your men fire, I hold you responsible for it. You will force, in fact, you will recommend to me that you want to do mental tests for your men. I will do it for you. Because you know that you'll be held responsible for their misbehavior. You will ensure that in every command there are no drunks. You will ensure that there are no people that you know that can bring disrepute to the force. You will first weed them out. Because you know that the hammer will fall on you if you don't do it. To fix Nigeria, it's not difficult. I don't know why our leaders are behaving this way. To fix Nigeria is a very simple thing. Just hold people accountable. Once you hold people accountable, things will fall in place. I cannot make you the minister of health. And I go to a hospital, and most of the doctors in public health institutions, they have their private hospitals. Number one, as a public health personnel, the first legislation is that you cannot have a private clinic. You cannot work in a private clinic. And we ensure that we pay you well so that you will not be complaining that your pay is not good. So if you put these measures in place, things will work. And if you tell all the ministers, all the DG, all the people that you can no longer go overseas for medical checkup, You can no longer send your children's schools abroad. Once you are a government worker,
Guess we have another issue with his network. We need to upgrade the network in Abuja, most definitely. So that's Barrister Oloruntoba Kehide talking on government policies as it affects the agric business and why the government policies, uh, although good, hasn't worked that much because we lack quality implementation. I believe his network will be back shortly, and then, of course, we intend to round up in another 10 minutes. But if you're watching and you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I want you to click on the subscribe button right away. It's a perfect time to do that so that more of these engaging masterclass coming from people with vast experience and are able to make things happen for us as a country. You could participate in meetings with such a person. And if you've not given Barrister Oloruntoba Kehide a thumb up, I think it will also be a perfect timing to do that. We have quite a handful of people watching. Make a comment. Let's know where you are watching the masterclass from, and then while we try to get in the Honorable Commissioner, ex-Honorable Commissioner of Agric, Kogi State, back online. I think. All right, thank you, Lydia. You said frank discussion. Thank you very much. Bukka Tijani, good discussion. Thank you. Uh, we have Gwada Sundawa Chagwa. Good evening to you all. Good evening to sir. Good afternoon, Barrister. That's from Ata Agbeise. So we're still expecting the Honorable Commissioner, ex-Honorable Commissioner of Agric, back online so that we can ask him a final questions. Then we put the conversation to rest. Uh, oh, thank you, Dr. Monday. Thank you for joining. Uh, thank you for saying it's a sincere advice. It's nice to have that. Okay, so Barrister Oloruntoba Kehide is still having a little issue with his network. Government policies has been good, implementation has been bad, and that's one of the reasons why we're where we are as a country. And it's our hope and then our prayer. Okay, I think it's back up now. Thank you, sir. You're back up again.
hello, hello,
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
you can't hear me.
Starlink is coming up
Hello,
shortly. Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Can you hear me? We can hear you, sir.
hello.
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Can you hear us? We can hear you, sir. You can talk.
Then we go do our proposal. I go start.
Okay, so I think we're having issues. Okay, he's trying to connect again. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Sorry, it's network. For pardon me.
All right, it's fine. It's fine, sir. So I think one of the major things we picked from your conversation is the ability of government to put the right people in place, right people in the right position, and then to also ensure the quality of implementation
And hold
uh,
them accountable. Very
and
important.
holding them accountable.
Accountable. Very, very important. Once we hold everybody accountable, things will work. Nigeria can work. There's nothing wrong with us. When we go outside the country, we behave ourselves. We do the right things. We kill when we are supposed to kill. We don't drive against traffic. We don't do all manner of things. We don't we don't siphon government money. But when we get back here, what is wrong with us? We start doing because nobody is holding us accountable. Nigeria can work. Agric sector will work if we put the right people there and we hold them accountable. The farmers need government support, and we need these inputs to get to the real farmers. We don't need anybody. We don't need politicians parading themselves as farmers. The community leaders know who the right farmers are. The traditional rulers know they know who the right farmers are. If you want to reach out to the real farmers, you know what to do. You know what to do. But because nobody is holding anybody accountable, and once they put you in charge of anything, you just want to this is your own opportunity to become a billionaire because you may never have such opportunity again in your life. No, and it is wrong, sir. That is why we're not moving forward. That is why the agri sector is not doing well. It's not doing well. You see somebody because you have been a commissioner, because you have been a minister, you have become an automatic billionaire. No, it shouldn't. It should not. We should. Maybe there's all of us declare asset. There's asset declaration form before you get to office, and when you are leaving, you declare. Government should be able to go through those things and ensure that you have not unjustly enriched yourself at the expense of Nigerians. Until we start doing this, sir, it's a lie. We'll be doing policies every year, and at the end of the day, we have minimal or no impact on the targeted beneficiaries. That is
Very, very hard talk from you there. Government can work. We must hold ourselves accountable. We must hold ourselves accountable. Let's ask you a personal question, sir. We want you back in government. How can we have the capacity to also mobilize for you, sir?
I'm a Nigerian, right?
Yes, sir.
And I want to always contribute my quota to the development. In fact, I aspire. I one day I will aspire to be the president of this country, not because I want to become Mr. President,
You have it stamped, sir.
but because I feel that if I have the opportunity, it doesn't matter whether I spend 6 months and they eliminate me. It doesn't matter. But those 6 months will go down in history. That while I was there, I did not condone nonsense. And until we have such presidents that can come and say, I am here to work. You may not be corrupt, sir. If people under you are corrupt, you are corrupt. Because you are the head. You take responsibility for the actions and inactions of your team. It's not enough to say that you are Mr. Integrity. It's not enough to say that you are corrupt, you are not corrupt, you don't. But if you cannot check people that are under you, the people under you, if you cannot hold them accountable, sir, they will mess up the government for you. And that's the challenge we have presently, sir. Mr. President is said to be very honest, very upright, very this one, very that one. But the people working with him or working for him, are they upright? The question is no. And who do we blame, Mr. President? Because if we, sir, if you punish people, sir, when the Diagban Buhari regime came in the first tenure in 1983 to 1985, and they started war against indiscipline. Why? They had brigades everywhere. Nigerians could not drop, they could not litter the streets. It was impossible for you to just stand anywhere and bring out your organ and say you want to urinate. Or you go late to work. Or you want to jump the queue. Nigerians behaved themselves because there was penalty for violating those laws. And they were ready to implement it right there and then. Because of that, everybody behaved himself. I was in Ilorin then. There was one local government secretariat opposite my house. You will see the military administrator. He will be there by 7:30, waiting for latecomers. And nobody dared him because the consequences were grievous. Nobody dared them. But because now You go to your office anytime, nobody cares. You do whatever you like there. Even if you don't come, nobody cares. At the end of the month, they will pay your salary. Why won't you misbehave? You will misbehave, no? Sir, I don't, working for government is what I like to do because I know that I will always contribute my quota wherever I find myself. I will always do the right thing. But like I said, sir, I don't want to be a politician. That's the reason. But maybe later in life, because I believe that and they say if the wise fold their arms, they will suffer the misrule of the unwise.
Mm.
That will not just be blaming government, will not just be blaming people when the people that should do the job are folding their arms and thinking that there is nothing they can do. No, right thinking Nigerians must take up the challenge. Even in 2023, we must ensure that we put right people in government. People that you can vouch for their integrity. People that you know that when they get there, they will do the right thing. The more of them we have in government, the better for this country. And as we keep increasing that critical mass, if you get to a stage whereby the people who have pension for doing the wrong thing will be the minority. And the people do the right thing will be, and that time we'll start fixing Nigeria. Until we do that, sir, I'm afraid everybody wants to leave this country now because Nigeria is not working. Ghana is working. Rwanda, even Rwanda that came from a civil war today, is making waves in the international community. Every meeting our president attends, we go there to beg for arms, to beg for aid, to beg for loan. Nigeria, Dr. Femi, honestly, it's painful. It's very, very painful because we should not be where we are today. We have oil, we have gas, we have mineral deposits, we have
We have an issue of again with this network. But
very
you,
fertile. They don't have. God gave us, but what have we made of it? What have we made of it? Nigerians can no longer feed. It's now difficult for an average Nigerian to feed. Go to our schools, public schools. You don't want even your slaves to go there. You go to our hospitals, there are no drugs, no bed, no lights, nothing. You go to a specialist hospital, a government specialist hospital, you will see more than 1,000 generators. Every small department have passed my neighbor in Nigeria. Doctor, it's painful. And it's because we don't have the right, people are not doing the right. And it's the leader, it's the leader. I'm not even blaming any other person apart from Mr. President, the governors, the people at the helm of affairs because they are not holding their subordinates accountable.
Barrister Oloruntoba Kehide, you've just given us quite a lot of food for thought. We have just about barely 5 minutes, but just a recap. We need to put right people in the right space. We need to hold people accountable. More importantly, we need people who not just have the integrity but the capacity to deliver
To
on the result. We also hear you that you will also love to one day be the president of this country. I really look forward to that day. If you have a final advice, now I want you to talk specifically to farmers. For the
yes,
government people, we can't. So there's this much we can do. We enjoyed when you were commissioner of Agric in Kogi State because you were performance driven, and we got a lot achieved. It was under your performance that I'm proud to say that 26 vet doctors were recruited, and that's phenomenal. That's really amazing. But now to farmers, listening to you, people who are not governors, people who are not chairman of local government, listening to you, and they feel overwhelmed. They are the ones, they are the receiving ends of some of these bad implementations of policy. But they want to hear words of inspiration from you as
we can.
last word.
Yes, I can only continue to advise them to continue to put in their best because there's little they can do. We need fertilizers. We need inputs. We need inputs. We need government to make all this available for the farmers to be able to use them. Since corruption has made this impossible, since ineptitude has made this impossible, then we can only start advising ourselves now to make use of the little resources that are at our disposal so that we can still achieve it. But honestly speaking, farmers are helpless. Farmers are helpless because, for instance, in Nigeria we have dry season, we have rainy season. If we have irrigation across the country today, sir, you can do 12 months farming in Nigeria, and it will improve productivity. And we have bodies of water everywhere. It's just corruption. You budget money for dams, those money find their ways into private pockets. Storage facility today, sir. During harvest, you could buy 10 tubers of yam for 3,000 naira. But shortly, a month after harvest period, the same 10 tubers of yam will start going for 10,000 naira because we don't have storage facilities. So there is glut during harvest. And that's why farmers are not even getting enough reward for their labor because they have to sell. A tomato farmer has to sell it, else it will go bad. A cassava farmer has to sell it as soon as they are uprooted, else it will go bad because there are no storage facilities. And we need government to put all of this in place. Farmers cannot do this for themselves. It's government that can do this. We have farmers are elite, they are helpless, if you ask me. But we'll continue to still admonish them to put in their best and we'll continue to pray that in no distant time, the government will touch the hearts of our leaders and they will know that they need to provide job for these teeming youths. And agriculture is their plug to engage these teeming youths. And they continue to do the right thing for farmers. And because in Kogi, we have over 4 million people. But God has blessed us with vast land. River Niger, Benue, they are in Kogi. The land very fertile. We have able-bodied men. 70% of our population are youth. So why can't we do farming? Just because we don't have the right policies. We have the right policies, but they are not well implemented, and that's the effect. You now buy a tuber of yam, you go to market, you want to buy tomato. When you hear the price, you go to this one, you want to buy corn. When they tell you the price, you'll be scared. God will continue to help the farmers. They should continue to put in their best, and we'll continue to pray that God will touch the heart of our leaders, and one day they will realize that Nigeria belongs to all of us, and that we need to do the right thing for posterity, our children, our great grandchildren that are still coming. We must not allow Nigeria to fail because if it fails, all of us have failed.
Barrister Oloruntoba Kehide, thank you so very much for those very profound piece of advice. And then I think more importantly, we want to have you back in one capacity or the other, maybe nationally.
God will do it.
We look forward to being the Minister of Youth or Minister of Agric. Consider us as one of your loyalists to help you drive your agenda forward. We admire your frankness, we admire your ability to deliver on results, and then more importantly, we admire what you did and what you will do when given the right position. Thank you for your time. As a community in Farmalab, we're grateful that you spared your 1 hour to educate us on what government policies are and where the loopholes are and what we need to do as farmers. To everybody, thank you for joining us and then do have a lovely day. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Barrister. Yes, sir.
God bless you.